Okay, we've had the Lions squad out. Our wait is finally over. We know the truth. I'm joined by Ollie. I've done my little live reaction as such. Now we've had time to have a look at this squad and really dig into some of the details. Were they the right calls? What are the big talking points? Ollie's been very busy today. He's just interviewed Fitz Harding. That's going to be a really cool interview coming out very soon, probably tomorrow. So you have been hard at it. But the Lions squad, start us off with a little headline here, Ollie. What did you make of it?
There's certainly plenty of talking points. I think there are a couple of big England-related surprise inclusions,
Yeah.
which I maybe didn't necessarily expect. What have we got? We've got 15 Ireland, 13 England, 8 Scotland, 2 Wales.
That is it. Yeah.
I think I'm right in saying so.
Yeah.
That's about the weighting expected. Given Caelan Doris's injury, that maybe skews it back towards the middle. But talking points as always. And I tell you what, how nice to have it as a live stream with a crowd. I thought that was so great to watch. I thought Maro Itoje's announcement was done in a really cool way, and I
Yeah.
think
He spoke really
really,
well. I thought Itoje spoke fantastically well.
and he's the deserving man. The one thing that bothers me slightly is we'll never know for sure whether it would have been him anyway.
Yeah.
Obviously Doris, we don't know, but I'm reading 4 to 6 months. If that is, that's such a shame for
Oh
him.
wow, is that right? Well,
And
I had a
I
little
know
theory out
you
there that maybe he's shot by that one because it was 38 players, right? And we were expecting maybe a few more.
yeah.
30, I was going 39. I'm just wondering if the 39th place is held open to see how Doris's rehab is going. But if you're hearing that long, maybe not.
I mean, look, the grapevine's the grapevine, right? It may well be that, and if Caelan Doris is fit, he'll come straight back in for sure. But I think his sort of captaincy toe to toe with Itoje was honestly on a knife edge. I know you were swaying towards Itoje. I was probably swaying the other way. I just hate that we will never have that answer.
We'll never know.
Just after
No,
the
we
tour.
will never know. But look, Itoje's he's going to be a good captain. Like I said in the live reaction, he's ready now. He's served his time. He's learnt everything he needs to know about the game, about the Lions, and I think he's going to be great. So if you would say Doris was in and it was 16 Irish, 12 English, 8 Scots, 2 Welsh, you'd probably say the proportions looked about right, maybe a little light on Scots.
We all know that the Scotland backline is where they truly light up. I actually think the biggest surprise Scotland omission was in the backs, and
Yeah,
that was Tom Jordan.
Tom Jordan. Okay, not Darcy Graham.
And Darcy,
Those
forgive me,
two.
you're
Those two.
right. No,
Yeah.
those two would have been in my squad. I think we spoke about that a few weeks ago. And when you see the likes of who has been included, obviously there was no room for Faye Wabo, so I don't think he'll recover in time. And that obviously that's been left up in the air. I think if you take out Elliot Daly, who covers essentially the same positions as Tom Jordan,
Well,
although
Jordan covers more, I'd say. Jordan covers 10 as well, doesn't he?
exactly. And Jordan, made such a big impression, during his past few international appearances. Elliot Daly obviously scored a phenomenal try against France, but then was a little quiet in the couple of appearances that followed. Darcy Graham over Mac Hansen, who's more of a threat with ball in hand.
Oh,
And I think that we're missing that live wire winger is my
yeah.
my one initial worry with this squad in that Freeman, Lowe, Van der Merwe, very, truck it up type of wingers, and we
Oh, I
need that.
mean, yeah, they're powerful, they're pacey, but that extreme pace and extreme footwork, Darcy Graham looks like he would have just rounded out that back three very nicely because it's a lot of back three. Well, you got six back three there, I think, something like that. Plus
Yeah.
Daly, who can play there as well, and you could play Jones or Ringrose there if you need to. So they're stock full of back three. It just seems like there was a space for Graham there, and he'll be desperately unlucky for sure.
Yeah, I think he has every right to feel aggrieved. You're absolutely right to point it out because that's probably I was going to list that as probably the biggest obvious omission for me. I think Matt Hansen has been missing a step. He's obviously had his injury problems as well, but ball in hand, he's just not as unpredictable as Darcy.
No,
So I think he's very
yeah,
unlucky.
it looks like Farrell's going with what he knows there. He clearly trusts Hansen, trusts his kicking high ball game, rates him highly. So that sounds like to me a bit of a Farrell overall potentially there. Maybe I don't know. The centres actually is a little light as well. I mean, no arguments with the four centres. With Ollie Lawrence injured, it was always going to be Aki and Jones and Ringrose. Obviously, they've taken a little chance on Tuipulotu, but I mean, that's understandable because he's so good. But I was just looking at that, and they've only really got those two 12s there with Aki a bit older, with Tuipulotu coming off an injury. That's a bit of a risk. And I was looking through the squad and only really looks Ben Earl. Is he going to play some 12? That would be another kind of hot take from that.
Yeah, and I think he is. I think Ben Earl in the fixtures he plays will play a lot of 80-minute fixtures. I mean, if anyone in the pack can do it, he's an absolute machine, and he's probably one of the fittest and strongest Lions. Full stop. Tommy Freeman has never played 12 for Northampton, so I can't really see him moving inside.
No, it looks like Daly covers 13, I imagine. But
Daly covers 13, Freeman 13. None of the 10s really cover 12 either.
That's a great. I put that down as well. That's a great point. Then there's no Owen Farrell who could have just slotted in at 12.
Yeah, exactly. So, they're a little bit underweight there. They're missing maybe an Ollie Lawrence who covers 12 or 13. I was a bit surprised by Ringrose over Henshaw for that reason. Yeah, just in that I think Henshaw, who in my opinion has also been better in an Ireland shirt of late, he also covers 12 and 13, whereas Ringrose doesn't to the same extent. So
again, they could have taken 39 players and just made it easier. Obviously, a bit more expensive, but I mean, those are. I mean, essentially, I think the headline is it is kind of the squad we expected, but there's a few interesting things around it. Let's talk about Henry Pollock. He's in. Henry Pollock is in. Now, question is he in? Was he always in, or is he in because Doris is out?
I mean, how good that he is in, first of all.
Oh, yeah.
I think what you've got here, and whether, he's obviously got one England cap, 20 years old, and you should say, well, he's not even starting for his country. How can he be picked for the Lions? But one, I think he should be in on merit. If you look at his Champions Cup statistics, absolutely ludicrous. I think having that narrative around this wonder kid who everyone is talking about at the moment in terms of the power of that and and the investment in the Lions that brings overall.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
So important, and Henry Pollock's that beacon at the moment.
And I think he'll shine to it. I don't think he's someone like, say, Johnny Wilkinson, who hated that limelight. Or I think he'll be fine. He'll be absolutely fine.
He'll be buzzing, and he'll bring an energy and obviously a nuisance to the pitch in particular. Hopefully, not too much of a nuisance to the squad.
No, he'll be fine.
Would he be in if Doris wasn't? I think yes. I think it got to a point where the shouts were too big and his performances were too good and his momentum was too strong that he was undeniable. And so I don't think he would have been the omission. Would they have extended to 39? I don't know. Would Jack Conan have made it? I still think yes. Obviously, if Doris is injured for Ireland, Conan starts, and you could say that that's the replacement here. But I think Conan is so valued by Andy Farrell, he would have been in anyway.
I just think
much momentum.
Well, and also you look at their positions. Pollock's a 7 who maybe could do 8, but Doris is a proper 6-8, isn't he? So it doesn't kind of make sense to replace one with the other anyway. So yeah, it's so exciting to have him in, and I think that's the beauty of the Lions. When you've got a massive squad, you can take a little bit of a chance on someone.
Yeah, exactly. Well, watch him come off the bench in one of the tests and score.
Yeah,
that's such a plausible narrative. And again, when people are looking out for match day squads for week 1 against Argentina, etc., they'll be looking for Henry Pollock's name, whether you're English, Irish, Scottish, or Welsh. And so a player like that is, and I suppose Lewis Rees-Zammit was the equivalent 4 years ago, but he doesn't have the excitement anywhere near that Henry Pollock has for me.
I mean, he doesn't even have to play in the test. I mean, in some ways, it's fine if he doesn't. He plays some of the other games, and it's great. It's not a biggie, is it really?
No, not at all. Not at all. And it'll be great for his personal development. I'm obviously not saying Andy Farrell had that line of thinking, but I just think his inclusion is a big plus for all involved. Yeah,
and it's crazy to think, like, I was literally interviewing him, like, for the under-20s.
Yeah,
with Kane James, and I was talking about him under-20s, and then he gets into the England squad, and now here he is. It's just like, it's nuts, isn't it?
I watched that interview. Even that feels like a lifetime ago, because he hadn't scored 2 for England by then. He had obviously beaten Northampton and skinned Sam Prendergast by then. He hadn't been called up to the British and Irish Lions by then, and that was 3 months ago.
Yeah, if that. I mean, yeah, meteoric is the word. So you mentioned Sam Prendergast. Go on then. Let's go there. 10s. What do you make of that?
Surprised by Marcus. He was one of the 2 England inclusions. I was surprised by Elliot Daly being the other one. Prendergast is a real head scratcher because I do think the noise around him was probably a little bit too loud to begin with. And you have to say that, given his obvious defensive frailties, his tackle percentage was the lowest out of anyone in the Six
Yeah, it's
Nations.
undeniable now. It was like a little thing you saw in his game, but now the stats are backing it up. So I think that's the thing.
You have Joseph Suolihi and Lenny Kitao running at him, he's in trouble. And
Yep.
Australia would target that because let's be honest, Australia going in underhanded and they will need an Achilles heel. And having Prendergast in your starting lineup or even coming off the bench, that's obviously a hole to target. I think he played himself off the plane. I think he was on it post the Scotland game. Unfortunately, I think he played himself off the plane. I'm not saying Marcus Smith is a form 10 because I don't think he is, but his versatility, he's a little bit more experienced as well in that he's probably approaching 40, 45 caps maybe.
Okay.
A little bit more experienced, and you need that because if Russell goes down, Finn Smith is obviously, an old head on young shoulders, but he has fewer than 10 caps to his name. So
yeah, that'll be fascinating. If Russell goes down, what do they do? That's a good call. I mean, it's not a surprise to me particularly. In my prediction video, I had gone for Marcus Smith. I thought it made the most sense for what they were going to do. And, he's got so much ability. Obviously he's lost his starting shirt for England, but he's still a hell of a player and he offers so much. I see what people are saying that if he was the starting 10, would they worry? He's just different. He's just different. He's exciting. So as an England fan, I'm okay with it, but I can see other points of view as well.
Marcus obviously may not play the way Andy Farrell wants to, which is I think why I saw he's obviously another jack in a box where you don't really know what he's going to do, and that's a useful asset to have. As the Lions build their sort of brand of play, I don't see him being involved in a starting 15 for a test match, maybe off the bench, but I don't see
I think that's fair. Yeah, I mean, brand of play is interesting. You look at the back row; it's a lighter back row. Number eights, they haven't brought in any other big bopper number eights. No Faletau, no Tom Willis. So it looks like Conan, Ben Earl, maybe Tom Curry are your eights. It's quick. They haven't got a out and out six who covers second row there. So, and then you've got Marcus Smith as well. So it looks like maybe they're going for a quick game plan. Pollock, of course, that would make sense in Australia, I guess.
I was going to say, I think it's a sign of the times, but also a sign of the opposition. The mobile back row has come into force and gone are the days to an extent of the big truck it up number 8 in the Billy Vanapola type. Joanna Augustus would be an example, and South Africa haven't looked at him yet. And I think 4 or 5 years ago they may well have, but also a sign of the opposition in that I think the Lions probably don't feel the need to go in with a 950 kilo pack and a 700 kilo bench, or certainly in terms of the forwards to mitigate what came at them 4 years ago, because they won't have to deal with quite the same firepower up front.
Yeah, I mean, that being said, another surprise is taking 6 out and out second rows, really, which I was really surprised by, because I was convinced they were going to go for one of Laws, Cunningham South, or Baird, say, who can play six and second row. So to me, it does point towards Noddy Chesham or Tyburn playing 6, certainly at some point.
I wouldn't disagree with that. And I think there's also, in the Six Nations, if you look at the back row, I don't have a stat off the top of my head, but I would anticipate that, with the exception of England, most of the back rows had a third line out option in.
Yeah.
And I think Andy Farrell will be thinking like that as well. Do think James Ryan's a little bit lucky. Would be my take.
Especially Ryan and Cummins. That's a surprise. One or the other, fine. But both of them, that's really interesting.
And you look at the caliber that have missed out in the back row: Ben Curry, Tom Willis, Jack Willis. I know all of those are England.
Jamie Ritchie.
Jamie Ritchie is a great example. Darcy. I think there's probably one extra that probably doesn't need to be there if we're being really. But like I say, that's being very picky.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure we're going to see one of those Chesham Burn in 6, if with that makeup there. Is nice take. And then I think probably the last take is those top 14 guys. Not many. We've only got Kinghorn going. No Owen Farrell. Was he going to go? Did his injury affect it? I didn't think he was going to go, but what were your thoughts?
Agreed. I don't think he could have. I think the knives would have come out. I would have loved to
Well,
have
there's that.
seen. I mean, I would love to have seen Andy Farrell's face as Owen Farrell's name came up on that board. I'm sure he would have remained stoic as always, but you know the backlash there would have been. I saw one stat pro Owen, which was Racing's win percentage with him in the match day 23, which is about 65, and their win percentage with him out of the match day 23 was 17.
Right.
So he, regardless of current state of play, he clearly brings up those around him, and that's undeniable. But I think there's an element of politics to this in that
Okay.
you've got to get people buying into the unity, the movement,
Yeah,
etc.
and it does look like he has, like Jack Willis, no Courtney Laws, Dave Ribbon. So he hasn't really gone to the top 14 apart from the guy who was playing in the Six Nations. So
I think that's the divide. If you're not playing international rugby, Andy Farrell hasn't considered you.
yeah, and that my
I-
predictions, that's kind of where I went for, and that's what he's gone for. Yeah.
And here's hoping Blair Kinghorn's fit, because I think he's my
Yeah.
15 and most people's 15 at the moment.
Yeah, there is that, and maybe another reason why Marcus Smith has gone as a bit more cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. So I think that's, well, Thomas Williams is probably the last slight surprise there. Well, not surprised, as in he's easily good enough to go and he's quality player, but another indication towards the style, I think, that quick, chaotic style he brings, whereas Ben White is like Mr. He's quick, don't get me wrong, but he's crazy reliable with all his skills and kicking and passing. So that's probably quite an indication on that as well.
That was a toss of a coin, I reckon.
Yeah.
Or, as close as that. And the only question that raises is they've got two Welshmen, which I think maybe twice as many as some people were expecting. Did that come into that selection?
Yeah, look, I think
never know the
there
answer to
is
that.
a consideration there, but these are the two best Welsh players. So, it's like it's not like they're not
Yeah.
good. No, they are very good players. So
No, both
I'm
worthy
fine with it.
inclusion. So's Ben White.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's going to be injuries. That's the thing. That even though this is the 38 right now, there's going to be injuries before the tour goes out, probably. There's going to be injuries during the tour. So plenty of these guys who aren't selected, we will see. And that's also going to be fascinating to see how they replace players, or if they do. Sometimes they won't.
Exactly. No, it'll be interesting. And that's, there'll be players who are currently feeling pretty heartbroken. That's almost the true heartbreak, is if you get selected and then you're injured before tour. So there probably will be one or two. There are, keeping my fingers crossed that it's not anyone who is, well, it's not Henry Pollock.
Yeah, hopefully not. Anyway, that is our hot takes, and those are our thoughts. Now it's digested a bit. I'll chuck up the old testosterone testing kit, which is still going. That's 45% off. Ollie, ever considered it?
I might now.
It's manual. So the home test really cheap. Obviously, they want you to do other stuff as well, but it's 45% off. It's, I don't know what, 30 quid or something like that, maybe less. Anyway, RugbyAnalyst 45, if you want to use that, extended from the Six Nations. And let us know what you think about this Lions squad. Are our minor concerns the same as yours? Are you super happy? Where are their holes? Where are their areas of strength? Get in the comments down below. There's plenty to talk about. And watch out for Ollie's interview coming up with Fitz Harding. It's another cracker. Ollie, thank you so much.
No, thank you, Rich, and see you soon. I still haven't settled down from this afternoon. It was an adrenaline rush, but I hope everyone found the stream exciting as well.
Yeah, good fun. Good day. Okay, guys, we'll catch you later.